All right, Ian, we have a Patreon, don't we?
We do. Patreon.com/CU podcast. What do you get there? I'll tell you what you get there. You get a writing once a week. You get the full video podcast. We do Hangouts. Probably do mine next week. And you get to vote in these polls.
I'm doing my TikTok dance, Ian. We get extra podcast hours if we win.
Gross.
We can allot hours.
Tell us about the poll topics. Tell us about it.
Your will to live just dropped after that GameStop
Yeah.
segment.
Oh, it's sad.
Imagine if Trey did that to you guys.
I feel like, Bud, that's a good way to bury this 14-year friendship. I'm out.
All right, third place. Besides Super Mario 35, what retro games could make good Battle Royale games? I thought they would have won by now, 22%. In second place,
I've got ideas.
32%. What do you miss about gaming conventions? 32%. And in first place, Ian, patient gaming. Not in a hospital patient gaming. Playing new games, but at a fraction of the cost. The pros and cons of that approach to gaming, being a patient gamer.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy it. That's usually how I get into the new systems. I don't necessarily wait a whole generation like some people do, which I think this question originally talked about.
Waiting like several years.
Right. But it is always great. I've purchased the only system I've purchased systems very close to launch, close enough to launch that for the purposes of this conversation, I'd say that I bought them at launch. I think I've only bought the Dreamcast itself on actual launch day. GameCube was, if it wasn't launch day, it was within a couple weeks. And it's fun. It's great to be, it's fun to be current. You get to be in those conversations.
You're hip with the kids.
You're hip with the kids, exactly.
Did you play that new Grand Theft Auto?
So yeah, everyone likes to be able to talk about their hobbies currently, but there are just so many games that it does, and money's not infinite. Not everyone's got money. It's not always easy to find the reason to buy the new system. So there's. I bought my 360, I think 2 years after it came out, whenever Pac-Man CE came out. I bought my PlayStation 4. No? Leave me alone.
Okay, Ian.
I bought my PS4 about a year and a half after it came out. I bought my PS3 multiple years after it came out.
That was so expensive.
I bought my PS3 like 2 years before it was not
producing more.
Yeah, I bought it in the last 2 years. I think it was made.
So like
2 or 3 years
or 14.
Yeah, who knows? But it's great because the system is cheaper, but you get to make use of the used game market, which is fantastic. And there is a unique joy to being able to buy current games. Like modern games come out at $60 or now $70, but the popular ones are usually $25 to $30 as long as they sold well within 6 months. They don't hold that price forever, especially
for a physical market.
Yeah, for the physical market.
What's a physical game?
So yeah, it's a lot of fun to be able to pick up that new system to you and then go apeshit on the used game rack. And that's when I buy a new system, that's when I oftentimes will buy games that I might not have considered purchasing at any other previous time, because I'm like, I'm saving so much money on this, I'm just going to start picking stuff up so I can have a small library to start with. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. You get 3 or 4 games for the price of one. And then to further that, I have seen customers, I think some of my customers have the most fun when they pick up a system that they've never owned and it's like a generation or two behind. I've had regular customers during this pandemic pick up Xbox 360s because they've never had them. And I mean, games are $3 to $5 a piece. I mean, they're worthless. So, I mean, people are just buying everything and trying everything, and they just keep coming in, and like they'll trade that game back to me and I'll give them $2 in credit or $2.50 in credit for it, and they'll buy more games.
It's like you're renting them.
Yeah, that's kind of what it is. I mean,
like
at that price, it is. It's like having all of these insanely good rentals at your fingertips. I've never owned an original Xbox, and there are
that's like the one thing I haven't owned either.
And there are games for it that I want to play, and I've almost been putting off buying an original Xbox because, and I was thinking of this when this question came up, I will probably have the same amount of fun. There is some exclusive stuff. It doesn't have to be good stuff, but there's just stuff on there that I've never played and never experienced.
Yeah.
And, it would probably be fun to take an original Xbox home from work and a stack of games for a couple of weeks and just blow through them.
It's a new frontier.
So yeah, I think there's a huge benefit to being patient on it. And like we mentioned earlier, hey, this is your hobby. If you've planned for it and you've got the money, it's okay to be current on it. I personally don't see the point right now in going out and buying a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox One. But if you do, good for you. That said, I know that in a year's time, when I finally get a PlayStation 5, I'm going to have a lot of fun taking advantage of all the cheap used stuff that you people have already bought and played through.
What do you mean, you people? When I see this, I think about the type of people that play games. And I go back to, like, if you are the person that was playing all these games brand new when they came out, then you are what Ian and I, not sarcastically, but, affectionately call, you're the gamer. Like, you got to buy these things right when they come out. You have that lifestyle to be able to play all these games when they come out. Like, that's what you do. That's what you do. It's not just your hobby. It might be your lifestyle. That's what you have time. Because a lot of these games take like 70 hours to beat these games when they come out, or 50 hours, or 40 hours. Like, that's just a lot of time. Not that you can't do anything else, but it makes it tougher to do something else besides that. And a lot of people aren't like that. A lot of people will buy a console. They'll buy a console and they'll buy like that, the heavy hitter here and there, but they don't have time to have like 6-7 games at once going on. So they're going to have to come back later on to some of these games. When I looked at this, though, I thought about retro gaming is this. You're a patient gamer. You didn't know about this stuff when it came out, because you're talking about eras when, God, we talked this one time about when we thought there was the most different number of systems on the market, probably the mid-90s.
Mid-90s. You got
10 different fucking consoles or systems.
You've got the Genesis, the Super Nintendo, the 3DO, the Jaguar, the Sega CD, and those add-ons, if you want to call it.
Game Boy.
CDI, Game Boy, Game Gear. At the tail end of the 90s, you had the Neo Geo
Jaguar.
Pocket. I said Jaguar.
Sega CD, if you want to count it. 32.
Yep.
You had more than 10 platforms. So when we look at that, I don't know if Lynx was still kicking around in the mid-90s. Probably not.
No, I feel like it was probably done by...
Back then, you wonder why only a couple of companies survived, out of all the, because there's only so much gaming that the marketplace needs, right? There just is. To segment it out that many ways doesn't make any sense. So
we finally learned what the critical number of consoles is that people can actually care about at any one given time.
It's 3, and even that's like, well, 2 of those are crossing over line.
3, and that's with one of them being a different market, and then 2 being very similar.
Yeah. That's all. Then you have the smartphone market, which is different, and PC blends a little bit. But so you have to be not just patient, it's discovery, because there's just too many things to learn about. But even with modern consoles, there's too many things to learn about, because now you have indie games it's a whole thing in and of itself, right? An indie game come out, and if you're a person I'm thinking of the person that is not always like me, Ian and I, or video games, we know about what news is coming and current. You will yell at me because I don't know enough about modern games, but at least I know what's out there, kind of. A lot of people don't follow everything tooth and nail, even if they buy a console. They may not be always on social media, always know what's coming up. It's got to be fed to them somehow that this stuff is happening. So in that respect, they may not know that like some indie darling comes out and is a hit. They may not know about it. Maybe they discover that 3 years later, 4 years later, someone tells about them. There's just no way of keeping track of all these things. So it's a necessity to be a patient gamer. Even if you think you're playing everything that's coming out brand new, you're going to think things are going to fall through the cracks. There's just too many games. There's more games being made now probably than ever before. With indie games, everyone's making games. Everyone is. Games come out that are great, and then no one discovers them on Steam or on the eShop. I mean, that's just the way it is. So discovery is impossible for a lot of these games. Obviously, it's cheaper to wait. Obviously, in general, but yes, there is cons. You're not like Ian said, you're not with the here and now about, oh, this came out, everyone's enjoying Animal Crossing, I gotta get in with that community. If you wait a year or two, it'll still be fun. It won't be as fun. You're missing out on these special events or everyone discovering things at the same time. There's less that's new to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of my great examples of that for me is Portal. I got to Portal.
Oh.
Yeah, I got to Portal later than everyone else did, and it was great because I got it for like $5 and played through it and loved it. But when I played it, and this was before Portal 2 even came out, so I'm not talking like super recently, but it was well after the game came out. There is a bummer. Like, I get real excited about it. I'm like, whoa, this game is fucking... This does great stuff with narrative. Like, this is a really interesting game. And everyone's like, yes.
Yeah, thanks.
We know.
Yeah.
We know.
The cake and stuff.
Yeah, you don't get to have that same discovery as everyone else.
Yeah, that's the thing. But I think most people probably don't. If you cared about that much, you would have played it already, though, right? And I hate to say it, a lot of this stuff is, even if you don't play a lot of these modern games, I always say this because the gameplay of a lot of these games is freely available online to see, especially if it's a story-based game.
Sure.
You can go on YouTube and watch it. You can go on Twitch and watch someone play through these games or an archive. So it's a lot different even now versus 10 years ago in terms of play it right away or else you never get to see it even. You can always experience these things. Like, I'm sure I can go online like and look at the Untitled Goose Game and watch someone play it. It won't be the same as me playing it, but I can at least watch someone. Oh, it's fun. Look at that. That's what everyone's talking about there. All right, anything else to add?
No.
Yeah, that was educational.